Hello Geeks and Gamers, Matt Lemke here with True Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com, and today we're going to continue our coverage on the wee little bit of product that I own that is up for nomination or has been nominated for an Origins Award. Best role-playing game, the Dungeons & Dragons Players Handbook. What can I say about that? One, I'm not sure it is... This is just a silly opinion on the award itself, not on the product. I'm not sure that you can say the Player's Handbook is the complete role-playing game. That's just my take on it. Some of the other things that are up, you could say the same thing about it. I'm not sure they would be a complete role-playing game either. But what is good about the Player's Handbook? It's, for a brand new system that is a step away from 4th edition, in my opinion, and kind of a step back closer to somewhere in between 2nd edition and 3.5, or between 2nd edition and 4th edition. I think this is probably where 3.5 should have went. I'm in the middle of a campaign now as a player, not as a GM, so I've been using the Player's Handbook, and I think that, well, for a role-playing game, one, it's got good art. It's laid out exactly the way I would expect from a role-playing game, and I'm the type of guy who plays a lot of different role-playing games. It's got all the different characters, and they really, with this book, try and get you to create a solid character, and they're really kind of stepping away from role, but only in the sense that they really want you to develop a personality for it. And when I say that, what I really mean is, like, for example, you might have a paladin, but that paladin might have a background in the church somehow, so that opens up the door for a couple more skills. The skills in D&D 5th edition are a big step back from all previous editions, but from 3.5 and from 4th edition. They really kind of take the skill chart of, I think in D&D 3.5 there's around 36 to 40 skills, and in this there's probably less than 20. I'm just going off the top of my head from memory. But a good portion of the book is on rounding out your character and developing a character. There's a small amount of information on combat, in the sense that there's like 5 or 6 pages. A good bit of the combat is covered in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Then there is also spell. There's a good bit of information on magic using in the Player's Handbook. All in all, I think it's a good book. That's my take on it. I've used it now for probably to create 4 or 5 different characters. As far as it's being up for best role-playing game, and not as a supplement, I kind of think it might be a little bit miscategorized. But then again, some of the other books that are up for the same award you could argue would be the same thing. Most of you that are going to vote on this are probably already using it and know everything I know. So it is a good tool. One of the key concepts I think that they changed is good is once you get familiar with developing a character in the 5th ed system, you can probably do it in about 15-20 minutes, because you do have less options. One of the big things that they did in this book is you don't get a feat at first level. That was, I think, pretty. I don't know if they did it. Obviously they did it intentionally, but I don't know if they did it intentionally to make character creation faster. I think that's one of the steps they did. One of the other things that they did in character creation to streamline it is they gave you packages, which they kind of did in previous editions, but they make it a greater point now to. At least it seems like it's laid out differently in the book, so it's better emphasized. For example, my kids all made characters, and they got to it, and they're like, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and grab this package. So they grabbed the package. Sorry about that. That's my computer screen turning off. So they just grabbed the package to streamline it and make it better. And they spent a lot more time on developing their character. And what I found out is that the book is really good. I mean, for me, I'm an experienced character builder, so I like to their different backgrounds and paths and traits and outlooks on life, for me, are a little sometimes bland, and I wasn't into rolling them at random. Now my boys thought that they were going to be into rolling and random. They thought it was going to be a lot of fun, and it turned out that once they got going with one of the key ideas, they just went ahead and started kind of picking. And in probably close to half the cases, they both just kind of created their own thing to strengthen the character and the personality of the character they were building for the role of our story. And that is one of the greatest things about this book, is it takes the role out of character playing and puts character into character playing. And for me, in role playing, that is huge. It's a lot more than just saying, I'm a fighter, I smash. If you play the way I believe you should play, well, anyway, that's another story. So we're going to move on now to the Monster Manual, which again is another great book, and I lost my notes. Hold on. The Monster Manual, which I've already done a book review on, sort of. I did my initial flip through, and I haven't actually written a review on it. And part of the reason why I haven't actually done a full written review on it yet, actually I didn't do it on the Players Handbook yet either, but I'm going to here very soon. One of the reasons why I didn't do it is because I really haven't used this book as a GM yet. I mean, I've looked some stuff up, and I've done some things here and there, and I prepared for my flip through. One of the great things that I think they did with this book is I think they improved the art and the overall layout. There's nothing that's, in my opinion, too abrupt. You've got, you know, the page layout and the art and stuff. Everything kind of blends. They introduced some new things. For example, they introduced siege monsters. So siege monsters are the type of creature. What is one? Tidal Kraken is one. I think it's Tidal Kraken. We'll just go with Kraken. Basically, when he's attacking a structure, he does double damage. They did things like that. They also introduced legendary actions and lair actions. Legendary actions are actions where the creature is allowed to act out of turn. So, in a way, it's a way of beefing up not only your monster, but your story without going too overboard. For example, you know, this is a problem that I know a lot of DMs and GMs have had. They do things like, okay, let's create this CR monster, and they created the wrong CR, basically. So what a lot of DMs do, they just add another monster or whatever. Well, with the flexibility within 5th edition, you can add legendary actions in the whatever creature you created, or it wasn't powerful enough, so you make it legendary. You just add them in there and say, boom, it's going to act out of turn. That totally changes tactics and strategy in the game, because now they know they're dealing with something that's not quite normal. And it makes your players think. And it catches them, it really does, it catches them off guard anytime you throw anything like that. But legendary actions basically are actions that the creature can do when it's not normally the creature's turn. Lair actions, however, are very different. You go into a dragon's home turf, or you go into a giant's home turf, or a beholder's home turf, and you want to fight it. So it's going to be a little bit more protective. And they get to do all kinds of anything, basically, from extra move actions to spell-like abilities. And again, these are actions that kind of just work in. Another thing that big bad beasties can do is they can get put right into your storyline now. One of the things that, well, actually, I'll back up a step before I get to the cool part. They introduce a whole new brand of layout and as to how they describe the monsters. You probably can't see that on this screen, but you can in my flip through. And they go through and they create a whole ideology of how the monsters think, an ecology of why they do what they do, how they eat, why they hunt the way they do. So you can put all of this stuff right into your story. And they take it one step farther by giving legendary creatures, I'm going to call them area effects right now because I can't remember off the top of my head what they're called. For example, a beholder poisons the water effectively for a mile around their lair just because that beholder lives there. So, yeah, I said works. But what you can do with that is then you can be like, okay, this section of this map is foul and befouled because it has a beholder living in it. Nobody in the storyline might know that. Your players might have to stumble across that. Another thing, and this is the one thing that, let me see if I'm getting too far ahead. Yeah, this is really the last thing. The book treats a CR very differently than it does in other editions. And there's a few different reasons for that. One, I'm not going to say one. It balances it out, and the way it usually balances it out is, a bigger, badder CR monster usually gets more AC, more hit points, and more attacks. Comparatively speaking to other D20 games, it is a rather significant change depending on the creature, but as a whole, from what I've seen, they generally get a boost to AC that I'm going to call a minor boost. It's not as significant as it was in the past, but I think they get a much bigger boost in hit points, and then of course it follows up with some attacks and things like that. The CR system in 5th edition has been hammered on quite a bit, and I think the people that are hammering on it are missing the point. And I'm going to say they're missing the point because 5th edition is much, much more about storytelling than previous editions have been. And I know there's going to be people who argue me on this, but I believe everything they've done has been done to set up world building, storytelling, better character development. So they're trying not to move away from combat, but to make it not as important, in the sense that story is going to trump rules. We'll say it that way. And I'm trying to be kind of light with this, because with the CR, you've got all kinds of ways to beef up your monster, without letting it affect combat too much, or just, okay, so these creatures do this for this reason, the CR is this, and it doesn't really mesh well. But the point is, I think, that in 5th edition, it's more about your story. So you, on the spot, which means you have to be a good GM, you have to take a couple of the ideas of maybe it being a legendary creature, or it's near its lair, or things like that, and beef up your story a little bit. And maybe once you do that, to make it a little bit tougher, you realize that, hey, I want the monster to live and be a more important part of my game world. Now, obviously, some of these things don't apply if you're playing a prefabricated adventure, but I believe, it's my personal belief at least, that most people, I'm going to say over 60%, probably create their own game world when they have found and adopted a game system that they like. And there you have it. Those are my thoughts on these two Origins Award nominees. The Players Handbook is up for Best Role-Playing Game. And I can't tell you whether I think it is going to win or not, because I really don't know. I don't know enough about the other games. I think that for Best Role-Playing Supplement, some of the other books that I have flipped through, I haven't read them, are going to have a hard time competing with the Monster Manual. I think they did a really, really good job with the Monster Manual. I think they did a great job. And where I think they succeeded is they succeeded in putting the idea and concept of storytelling into the Monster Manual, as opposed to, okay, let's just give you things to bash. And of course, you get all the traditional creatures you want, and then you get some different things, and they introduce new ideas and concepts of, like, the mycoid creatures. They have a spore that they get to share pain with the other mycoids in a certain area. So there's a lot of new things in D&D 5th edition. So thanks for watching, and I hope that this has helped you a little bit with your Origins Awards dilemma. And leave some feedback. If I was helpful, let me know. Post a comment and let me know if you enjoyed it or not. I'm still growing at this, and I'm still learning, so let me know. Have a good day.